Hello, good evening. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. And I am also here to talk about a very, very good topic. That is, I want to touch on those cases that do get approved for the marriage-based green card. There are just certain each case has something in common, and because of that, those are the cases that do get approved. And so I want to touch on some of those cases and what I see, in cases where I accept my cases, what I look out for in couples regarding their marriage-based permanent residence, and what makes for a successful marriage-based green card process. So, usually the number one thing with a marriage-based green card is teamwork. This is not just a one-person show. Even though it's the spouse that's going to be asking for, even though it's the spouse that's going to be asking for the green card, it really is going to involve the both of you. So it's going to involve applying for making sure that the both of you are engaged with me. So if there is just one person that's dealing with me, that's a red flag. It has to be both spouses who are involved in the case, that are supplying documentation, that's giving me information about the marriage. Because one very important aspect of my representation and also of the process is I get to know my clients, I get to know their marriages, what kind of marriage they have. That's going to determine exactly what kind of evidence we need to be submitting, because it's not a one size fits all. But also, it's the officer that's also going to get to know your marriage. The officer is going to want to understand the dynamics between the two of you to determine whether they're sold on the bona fides of your marriage. So getting a marriage certificate and some pictures is not enough, okay? So I've seen a lot of people come on here and tell me they have just submitted their marriage certificate and some pictures. And I've heard people say that to me when they're asking what should they submit. The number one thing I always hear is some pictures and marriage certificate. That's gonna be a no, okay? That's definitely icing on the cake, but it is not going to be what makes your marriage-based green card process. You have to, it's a very holistic approach. And that is why when I represent my clients, I don't do what do you say, a piece type of representation, right? I don't just file paperwork for my clients, my married clients, and then leave them hanging the rest of the way. Because my advice, my representation, my advocacy as their U.S. immigration attorney through the entire process is also going to determine their success. So, in this case, when you're applying, your teamwork is going to be very important. The immigrant spouse is not going to be the only one who is going to be submitting documentation and evidence. It has to be from both sides. And that can also be a red flag. So if your spouse, if you go into the interview or if you present your application and then it turns out that one of the spouses are, presenting, so they say the immigrant spouse is the one that's presenting all the evidence. Then the officer is going to question, why is it that the citizen hasn't submitted documentation showing that they care, or that their family members are involved, or their friends and family know what's going on with their marriage? They're going to ask about, whether you have met the other side, each of your family members. So it's very important that you both touch base. Your immigrant spouse is not going to be the only one that's going to be filling this paperwork. As a matter of fact, one of the documents solely belongs to the US citizen spouse, so, or the permanent resident spouse. So make sure teamwork all the way. Both of you have to be fully engaged and involved. If one of the, I know there's always one of the spouses that they're forgetful, they leave it to the other spouse to, remember all the details. You can't do that. If you want your spouse to get their papers, you have to make sure that the spouse is, make some effort to know birthdays, know details, know when you met, know your anniversary at least. So just be very engaged. Make sure you're both on the same page. Make sure you're taking it seriously. This is not just about paperwork. It's not just a one-person show. This is going to be teamwork. Now, let's talk about evidence, the types of evidence that you have to submit. Now, when it comes on to the USCIS, they are going to look at what makes your marriage real. What is that? What are the documents? So if at this point you're thinking you don't have anything other than pictures, you need to make sure you get legal advice and representation, because that's not going to cut it. What I would want you to do also is think deeply about what makes your marriage a marriage, right? Remember, a marriage is the intention to build your life together for the future, in the future. What are you doing to work towards your future together? Have you opened up your own bank accounts? Have you figured out who's going to be responsible for what expenses? Have you talked about children in the future or family planning? Have you done an estate plan? Have you done a will? Do you have life insurance? Do you share health insurance? Do you share other benefits together? Where do you live? Do you live together in an apartment, or do you live with family members? The way that you're going to present the evidence is going to depend on the circumstances under which you're living. So, and it's never a one size fits all. So don't try. So I've seen people go and they try to create this evidence, even though it doesn't really tell the story of their immigration, their marriage. So for example, you come on this live and you hear me say joint bank account. So you run and create a joint bank account, but you don't use the joint bank account. You don't put money in there. You don't spend out of it. In a case like that, guess what? It's going to raise a red flag. It's not necessarily going to be helpful to your case. So you have to be very careful not to try to construct evidence, but to look at the marriage that you have and present the evidence that truly represents what type of marriage you have. So do you have, do you have your if not joint bank accounts, right? How do you guys exchange money? Do you go ahead and exchange it through Cash App? Do you do it through Zelle? If you do that, then instead of creating a joint bank account, create statements showing how you're paying your bills. How do you exchange money? Where does the money go when you send? Do you send money to each other? Is one spouse responsible for the money? And is one spouse responsible for the expenses? Then present it that way. Yes, the USCIS, they tend to have a very traditional viewpoint of marriage, and the traditional as in like the 1950s, where the two of them commingle their funds. Everything is joint, your bank account, your taxes, your house, your lease, your cars. And marriages nowadays, many marriages are less traditional. And so it's the way you present it, as long as you present it properly to explain how the both of you are working together in your marriage, then it is going to work out fine. But you have to make sure that you do that from the get-go. Start from, don't depend on the interview to carry your evidence to the interview. All of this should be done at the front end to create a good petition. And that's what I do for my clients. I create a very thorough application from the start. So guess what? By the time we get to the interview, the officer has a pretty good idea of what your marriage looks like, and there's less likelihood that you're going to face a denial or delays or further frustrations because the officer there's a misunderstanding in regards to the bona fides of your marriage, meaning how real it is. So, teamwork, make sure you focus on the marriage in front of you. Don't try to construct anything. Don't try to construct the perfect marriage. Don't try to construct the evidence, because they will pick up on it, that this is not a definition of your own marriage. For example, say you live apart, right? That's definitely one of those things, tricky areas, in that you live apart and they may say, you guys live apart. Why is it that you live apart if you're married? Different couples have different reasons. The couple may be doing different things. One person may be going to school and they need to finish their program before they actually move in with another spouse, especially you may be in different states. Another spouse may not be able to relocate because they're focusing on their career or their education as well. And so it's a matter of presenting that information to the officer so they get a good picture of what your marriage looks like, and the explanation as to why you live separately together now, but maybe in the future you'll come together. So make sure you present the marriage that you have. Don't go and create the perfect marriage that you think they're going to want to see, because they can pick up on that. Teamwork is going to be essential. When I choose the couples to work with to get them through the process successfully, that is very important part of the process for me, is to ensure that the spouses are working together. I don't just represent one, I represent both spouses, and I want to be able to speak with both spouses, make sure I get to know them as individuals and as a couple. So very important. Now, I'm going to go ahead and answer some questions here. If you would like to schedule a consultation to get representation, go ahead and do that by going to the link in the profile, or you can go ahead and call. Phone numbers are always on the video, so you can always look for the phone number on the videos. It's another thing I want to mention here. Another big help when it comes on to the marriage-based process is full representation through the process. So, I don't believe in filing a petition for my clients and then leaving them to do the rest of it. I sometimes find that they get in trouble halfway through the process. They don't understand it. They're worried about fees afterwards, so they don't get back in touch with me. These are things I don't do. I do full representation of my clients from the beginning to the end of their process, to make sure that if something does come up, I am there to advocate for them and to be able to make any legal arguments or present the evidence in a timely manner so that their petition can be scheduled for the interview or approved, sometimes even without that interview. All right, so now I'm gonna take questions. And I see plenty of questions. Thanks for these questions. So let's get started with those. You can put any questions you like that are immigration related questions. All right. So is it better for me to file for my siblings, or is it faster for my mom to do it? Right now, it is faster for parents to do it. It may range from, it depends on how old your siblings are. If your mom is a citizen or permanent resident and they're under 21, it would take maybe a year and a half. However, if they're 21 or over, then you're looking at a 5 to 7 year process through the mom. If through you, it's a 14-year process. All right, I'm gonna keep scrolling through. All right, how long does the appeal I-290B on Vermont take in this time? You can always check the USCIS for the processing times right now. So for affidavit of support, if wife didn't file last because didn't work, what can we do and how much? And I think that's how much do I charge? So now with your spouse, even if she didn't make any money, she's supposed to file that affidavit of support. And then if you need a joint sponsor, you'll have to do that along with your spouse's affidavit of support. Go ahead, give us a call. The numbers in all the videos, and you can also go to the link in the profile. How long does the appeal? So I answered that. Waiting on renewal of my wife's green card. What's the wait time? Waited since May. So if you're talking about May of this year, it is you have a while to go. They are taking an average of about 2 years. So now, as for how much I charge to assist, that's to represent my clients because I'm not just doing paperwork, I'm actually representing clients as a U.S. immigration attorney. That is going to be dependent on what's involved. So go ahead and call. We'll do a consultation first. Just go ahead, schedule that. I'll do a detailed evaluation and then provide you the quote in the consultation. How can I contact you? I have questions. So you can go to any of the videos. You'll see my phone number on the videos. You can call. And also there is the link in the profile. You can also go to the Instagram. So click on Instagram and you'll see my contact information there. I really want to file my brother's, but this process is really expensive. So if you file for your brother, it's going to be about 14 years. So it's not a quick process. Hi there, Samantha. Is there anything a single mom who's been a victim of DV can get? Anything? Absolutely. If you're without status, you can apply on your own. This is one of the areas that I work very closely with my clients on to get them their work permit, get them their green card, get them a travel document. And this often changes their life and gives them the relief that they need to move forward independently. So go ahead and call us, schedule that appointment, and we can talk about it. Can I start filing for naturalization on my 4th year? 4 years and 9 months. What happens if the USCIS spell your name wrong on the green card? You'll have to get it corrected. If this is their fault, they will go ahead and fix it without charge. Now, keep in mind that this form of relief, you can apply for your own work permit. If you are the victim of domestic violence, you can apply for your own relief, your own work permit. You can apply for the U and even the T status. So you may have multiple options here. If your spouse is a US citizen or legal permanent resident, you could apply for your green card. If they are not a citizen, they're not even a permanent resident, you could apply for other forms of relief. So give me a call if this is a situation that you're currently without status and you're trying to figure out how to move forward. That's going to be it. So how long does the I-290 on Vermont take? In this time, I'm waiting 18 months. So check the website and you'll be able to see the time that they have put there. Hey, my husband is a citizen. He put my papers in. How long does it take for them to pick up the I-130? So it depends on how the case was filed. If it's a good petition along with the adjustment of status, I don't know if you're outside of the US or in the US, but it's ranging anywhere from 5 months to 18 months. Thanks for sharing the live. Thanks for the love. Can I file for my stepfather? Yes, if your stepfather applied, if your stepfather got married to your parent before you turned 18, then you would qualify. What if someone has threatened to call immigration on you? does not matter. You are protected once you apply for relief. They can't do that. Your spouse, your partner should not be threatening to call immigration on you. And if they are doing that, that is extreme cruelty and it qualifies you for relief. So go ahead. Can't stress enough that there is relief available, but I'd have to do a detailed evaluation to confirm you qualify and get started. But this has changed many of my clients' lives when they come to me in bad situations like this. And now I look at them, the joy, this is one of the joys of my practice, is that I get to see my clients thrive after they come to me. They're often distraught, they're uncertain, they're scared, they think that they have no way out. And I'm here to tell you that this process where you've been the victim of domestic violence by a US citizen or legal permanent resident, if you've been the victim of threats, if they've verbally abused you, not even just physically. Domestic violence does not just mean that they have physically harmed you. If they are controlling you, manipulating you, if they're subjecting you to threats that they're gonna deport you, call immigration on you, there is relief. I can't stress that enough. You have an option. So go ahead, call, schedule, and we can talk. So what if you are a single mom, never been married, but been the victim of DV? So there may be multiple options here. One is to get T status. Of course, I'd have to hear all the facts involved to determine whether that applies to you. And also U status right now, the U status, they are issuing work permits based on a bona fide application being filed. So call, schedule, and we'll talk. Get your situation evaluated and then get started. What if your landlord, family members, and ex threatens to call immigration on you? All of that counts towards you being the victim. If they're doing this to you, you are a victim here and you need to get help. There is relief. If family members, the landlord, your ex are threatening you, that's a red flag that you are in a very bad situation. You may be in a situation where you're being exploited, and I want to be able to determine which relief would be best for you. So go ahead, call and schedule the appointment. I'm here for you. If you have spoken to another attorney and they have told you you have no options, it is worth it to get my opinion, because many attorneys overlook this form of relief and they will tell you that you don't have any relief when you in fact do. So make sure you call and schedule the appointment if you're in a situation like this, so we can get that situation resolved for you as soon as possible. Thoughts on renewing F1 visa? Should I renew or just not travel for now? Maria, I don't know. I'm not your attorney. I would not be able to advise you here as to whether you should renew your F1 visa or not travel at all. It depends on what your situation is, what is going on with your, what's your situation, what's going on with your F1 visa. Why is it that you don't want to travel to get it renewed? Do you need to have it renewed? Do you need to keep going to school? So any news for new Daca applicants? Yes, so there is something that's hitting the news. So the Biden administration is now, they are now in the final stages of approving a new and hopefully improved relief for Daca recipients. About 600,000 people, young people, will be eligible for this form of relief, where you will be able to get the work permit and protection from deportation. Now, as you know, I don't know if you know, but I'm going to tell you now, the courts have the federal district court issued a hold on any new Daca applicants. That's for the existing program. Any existing Daca recipients can still apply and get it renewed, but anybody who's trying to apply for new deferred action under Daca they're not allowed to get it. However, in this situation where they're now in the final stages of releasing a new type of deferred action DACA program, it would be available for initial applicants. Now, the downside, of course, is we are very hopeful that this will open the door for many people to get relief, even though there, things have been, have been put on hold, and really everything has been very slow. However, we also have to take into consideration that there are going to be some states and other entities that may fight back and file suit to even stop this deferred action. We'll have to see how everything plays out. But for now, the Biden administration, they do plan to release a new program for deferred action. On YouTube, thanks for your question. After filing U visa, when do you get the work permit? So I've seen so right now I've seen as little as 4 months, but they are taking a while. They have what's called a bona fide determination filing plan now, where they will release the work permit after they've said that you do qualify and you properly filed. However, it is taking a while, so it could take even up to a year or more to get that work permit. All right. What are your recommendations for VAWA? It's going to depend on what your situation is. That's where it's very important to get a consultation, confirm you qualify, and get started. It's not a one size fits all. I have to know what your circumstances are. But what I can tell you is that if you qualify for it, you do get control over your situation. You get relief. You get to apply for this without that person who's mistreating you, and it's confidential. How long does it appeal? So I answered that. I got approved for my green card. I was told I would get it in the next month, and it's been 2 months. So you have to call them and just check on that to see where it is. All right, I'm going to head on over to Instagram. I see a lot more questions coming in. The good news is I'll be back tomorrow, or you can always join me on Instagram in a quick minute. I'm going over there right now. So I'm the immigration attorney on Instagram. You can also go to the profile page and you'll be able to click on the Instagram button that will take you there. So join me on Instagram where we can continue talking. I do release, while I do lives here on TikTok and YouTube, I release a lot more of the content, daily content on Instagram. So feel free to join me there so we can talk more about more about what your questions are. So I see many questions, so please don't hesitate to join me in a minute on Instagram or tomorrow at around 4 p.m. Eastern time. You can follow me so that you can see when I go live, and then hop on, ask me any immigration questions that you'd like. All right, thanks for joining me. Thanks for your time. I hope to see you in a minute on Instagram at The Immigration Attorney, or I'll see you tomorrow at around 4 p.m. Have a good one.